South Carolina, ready for another math video. Let's go ahead and jump in. Welcome to lesson 1-4 video 1. This is going to be the first of 5 video lessons in this particular section, so make sure that you watch all 5. Today we're going to jump into 1- and 2-step equations. You should have worked with these a lot last year. This should be kind of a review for you guys. But we're going to go ahead and look at how you're going to find missing variables in various equations. We're going to start simple with this lesson. We're going to just focus on 1-step and 2-step equations. And then in 1-5 we'll look at some of the more complex problems that are going to take a few more steps than this. But first let's just go ahead and review the basics. Alright, so an equation is a number sentence that contains an equal symbol. So this is different than the expressions I talked about with you guys in lesson 1-2 because the expressions did not have the equal sign. An equation is going to. An equation is made up of 2 expressions. So we're taking those two different expressions like we talked about in 1-2 and we're merging them together with that equal sign. Now, to solve equations, our whole goal is to isolate the variable. To isolate means to get all by itself. So we want the variable all by itself, no other numbers attached, no other numbers or letters attached with it on either the left side or the right side of the equation. Now it doesn't matter which side, it's personal preference. A lot of times it will just be whichever works best in the flow of the problem. Now, we want to think of equations like scales. When 2 sides are balanced, if you change something on one side, you have to make a change on the other side for it to still be balanced. If you had 3 pounds on the left and 3 pounds on the right, if you add 2 pounds to one side but not the other, the scales would be off balance and it wouldn't work. But if you add 2 pounds to both sides, then those scales are going to still balance out. They will not tilt one way or the other because you add the same amount on each side. Now, I want to go ahead and point out one thing that will be a common feature along your packets this year. In the back of your packets, you will often find an appendix that will have some various information that was a little bit too much for the notes itself, but are more like handy reference sheets for you to flip back and refer to when you need to. Since this is the first instance of such an appendix, I wanted to go ahead and point that out to you. Anytime that you see this little green star here that says See Appendix A, that means we're going to be referring back to the appendix in the back. It will be labeled with what appendix you need to refer to, in this case Appendix A. And Appendix A in this case is going to list various properties that we can use to help us isolate the variable. Now, the whole key to isolating the variable is using what we call inverse operations. And those are operations that undo each other. So for example, if you are thinking about what the opposite of adding is, it would be taking something away or subtracting. So to be able to undo things in equations, we use its opposite or the inverse operation. So hopefully you guys are familiar with these from last year. But remember, if you see addition, the inverse that you're going to want to do is subtraction. Very similarly, if you see subtraction, you guys are going to want to add. Multiplication is undone by division, and division is undone by multiplication. Alright, so as long as you can remember those 4, solving equations should be a breeze for you guys. We always want to do the opposite of what we see. So for example 1, we have -3 plus x equals 15. Now, we got to look at what's happening to the x. We have the x right here that we want to get all by itself, so that is what we want to isolate. Now, we do see a plus sign, but that plus sign is attached to the x. The thing that we need to move is this -3. So a -3 is really the same thing as saying subtracting 3. So even though there's a plus sign there, the part that we really want to get rid of is that minus. So if we look back up to our chart, the opposite of subtraction is going to be addition. So we want to add 3 so that that will cancel out. But just like we talked about in the scales, whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Alright, if you add a -3 plus 3, those are going to cancel out and give you 0. So we'll have 0 plus x is equal to 18. Now, of course, we know that 0 plus anything is going to be what we started with, and x equals 18, and that would be our answer. Now, I don't expect that you guys show this step on every problem where you go ahead and cancel out and have the 0 there. I expect you guys to be able to just cancel those out there and go ahead and add those together and just say x equals 18. Just for the first problem, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys all the steps so that nobody gets lost. Now, of course, the great thing about solving equations is we can always check our answer. All we have to do is take that answer that we got, x equals 18, and plug it back into the original equation. So our original equation was -3 plus x, which we just figured out was 18, should give us 15. And if we combine these, a -3 plus 18, that will give us a 15. 15 does indeed equal 15, so we're good to go. We know that we got the right answer. So you should be able to get every single one of these problems right, because you can always take the time to go back and check your answer yourself before you turn it into one of your teachers to be graded. Alright, let's take a look at another example. In this case, we have 1/4 n equals 2/7. This is going to be a key thing that we need to make sure that we understand. Anytime you see any number in front of a variable, it will always be multiplication. That seems simple, but there's always a few students every year that struggle with that concept. So go ahead and embrace that now, absorb it, and make sure that we know anytime we have a number in front of a variable, it's always going to be multiplication. So, to undo multiplication, what do we need to do? That's right, divide. So we need to divide both sides by 1/14. Alright, now, we are completely okay if you guys type into your calculator 2/7 divided by 1/14 and get your answer. We're completely fine. If you have one of those calculators that we recommended, there are really easy fraction buttons on there that will help you with these fractions. But if you wanted to do that by hand, let's just go ahead and review real quick. If you remember from middle school, we had something called keep, change, flip. We keep the first number, we change the sign to multiplication, and we flip the second number. So we can see that the 7 will go into 14 2 times. So we're going to have 2 times 2, which is 4. And that will be our answer, n equals 4. Again, if we plug this back into check, we have 1/14 times 4 should equal 2/7. 2 will go into both of these because this is really 4/1. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 14/7. So that gives us 2/7 equals 2/7, which I said right, but wrote incorrectly. But we can see that this is going to be correct. Alright, you guys try the U-Try problems. Remember, the answers to these are on the solution page for the U-Tries for Unit 1. Check your answers, and we'll see you in video 2.